In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Today is the first Sunday of the last month of the Coptic year. Today is the first Sunday of the last month of the Coptic year. We are in the month of Misra. Misra is the last month. After Misra, there is a small month, right? It's called An-Nas. Can be 5 or 6 days depending on the leap year. So the Coptic year is divided into 12 Coptic months times 30, that's 360, and then the last month is 5 or 6 days depending on the year. So we are at the end of our Coptic year. So the church plans the readings for us to always, when we always get near the end, you want to look back, reevaluate what you did during the year. You want to see where you stand from your goals. And each new year we set new goals and we try to achieve them. And at the end of the year we always look back, what were our goals, how did we achieve them? If we didn't achieve them, what's needed to be done to achieve them? So today the church reads for us the parable of the vineyard and the vine dressers. Simply, Christ was talking to the Jews, and we will talk about the background of the parable itself and why Christ told them that parable. But it says that he told them that there was a vineyard for his owner. He rented it to people. He entrusted some people, vine dressers, with the vineyard, and he traveled in a distant city. And then he wanted to get the rent or fruits or something, right? Because he's the owner. Yes, they work in the vine dressers, but he's the owner. He sent them one servant, second servant, and a third servant, and each time they beat them and they persecute the servants and they don't give them nothing of the fruits. They gave them nothing of the fruits. And then the vineyard owner didn't think, he think about the situation and he said, okay, I'm going to send my own son. They might listen to him and they might respect him. يختشوا يعني عارفين يختشوا. And they might give him the vineyard and might give him some of the fruits. And then when they saw the son coming, they started to plan to kill the son because they thought if we kill the son, then the vineyard is ours, right? This is the heir who is going to take the vineyard from the owner eventually. So if we kill him, then there is no heir, then the vineyard will be ours. And they did that. They killed the son, and they thought they won. And then the owner, and Christ tell the Jews about the end of the parable. He told them the owner will come and destroy these vine dressers, these bad vine dressers, and take the vineyard and give it to others who will take better care of it. But they said, no, certainly he's not supposed to do that, because they knew he was talking about them. They were the vine dressers. But let's go back a little bit. Why did Christ tell them that parable? Christ was teaching in the temple, and he was gaining ground, and the Jews felt very weak in front of him, and they didn't know how to resist this man. He is teaching with authority, teaching as he is the owner, as if he's the owner of the temple, as if he was born as teacher and born as a leader, and he's teaching. And they didn't like that fact. So they went to him and they asked him a straightforward question. That's what it seems like, that the question that was straightforward, but we will discuss that. They asked him, tell us by what authority you teach or you do that, the teaching and healing and whatnot, everything you do. Which authority? Because you're not from the you're not a son of Levi, you're not a priest, you have no authority. With what authority you're doing this, right? But the question did not really mean for them to learn, because they can tell that this guy is different. He is different than everyone else. The question was more to argue and to bring more accusations on Christ. And then this is what Christ did. And this is a very unique way of answering questions. He answered their question with a question. He asked them, I will ask you a question and you answer me. The baptism of John the Baptist, was it from heaven or from men? And they took a moment. They had to discuss the answer, because they were afraid to say from heaven. Then Christ would ask them, then why didn't you believe in John the Baptist? And if they said from men or from earth, then people will kill them, because John the Baptist were more like a prophet than anything, was greater than a prophet. So they told Christ, we don't know. We don't know the answer. Again, their question seemed straightforward, but the intentions were wicked. That's why Christ told them, and I don't tell you with which authority. Christ didn't tell them, and I don't know with which authority. He told them, and I will not tell you with what authority I'm doing what I'm doing. He knew the answer. They claim they don't know, but he told them, I refuse to answer your question. And then he gave them the parable of the vineyard. He told them, you are acting as if you were the owner of the service that you were given. As if you own this place, as if you own the temple. You are just stewards, your servants. I send you people, I send you prophets, and you kill them. And we'll talk about the three servants, because it was interesting for me to read the analogy between the servants and the Old Testament. The first servant is the natural law. When Christ sent, or when the owner of the vineyard sent them the first servant, they persecuted him, they didn't listen to him, they didn't obey him, and they persecuted him and sent him back empty. That's the first servant that God gave us, or the first law that God gave us, which is the natural law. What is the natural law? It's the law that people were abiding with before Moses' law, or the law of Moses. Before the law of Moses, a written law in a book, there was a natural law that God gave to the people. I'll give you an example. When Cain killed Abel, his brother, he knew that what he was doing was wrong, right? God talked to him, told him, at the door there is a sin. You want to do it, but you can prevail over it, but you really want to do it, right? He knew that something was wrong. He knew. This is the natural law. The natural law was broken many times, and that instant clarified how people didn't really listen to the natural law. Look at the time of Noah. How many people broke the natural law that God gave them, and how many people kept it? One man kept it, which was Noah. That's one man, only one man. And then God gave us, or gave the world the second servant, which is the Moses law, the law of Moses. He sent them, Moses, with the book and the commandments, the 10 commandments, and he chose people to follow him, called him his people, right? Called them his people. And they still did not listen to the law of Moses. They broke it in many occasions, and they end up worshiping idols. Very interesting. Now, the third servant is the prophet that God kept sending after the Moses era has gone. He kept sending prophet to remind people with the law. But again, they killed them and they persecuted the prophets. All this, and because of the fact that they think that the vineyard is theirs. We have control over this vineyard. We're not going to give anything out of it to anyone. It is ours. It's very sad. It's very sad to see what people can do in the name of God. It's very sad to see how far can people go to protect what they think, what's theirs, what belongs to them in their minds. It's sad to see people kill in the name of protection. God didn't send anyone. His message is peace. God's message is peace. And when you see someone deviating by killing and destroying and creating wars and creating division in any place, I assure you he's not sent from God. God commended many times the peacemakers. Blessed are those who are peacemakers. They are called the Son of God. Those who don't work on peace, those who create only division, are not sent by God. When we hear in the parable that the owner of the vineyard went to a distant city, that doesn't mean that God is away from us. Basically, what it means is that God wants to give us space. He respects our freedom. He went to a distant city, not because he's distant from us, no, but he respects our freedom. Now, the real question that we need to ask ourselves, do we appreciate the freedom that he gave us? This is a question. These vine dressers in the parable today, they did not respect that. What they did is they abused the freedom that God gave them. The fruits that he wanted and still wants, how do we live with him? If we call ourselves Christians, how do you live your life as a Christian? This is the fruit that God is expecting from every vineyard that he planted. By the way, the vineyard that he planted in this parable is the seed of faith in each one of us. The seed of faith in each one of us. And remember this, if the seed is not buried in the ground, is not dead, is not put in the ground, it doesn't sprout. Okay? Ground here is tribulations, is difficult time. If your faith is not tested, it doesn't grow. If your faith is not tested, it does not grow. It does not sprout. The fruits that he wants from us is our faith with him, faith reflected in action, and action based on faith. I don't want to end the sermon with this part, but I will give it to you to meditate about it. Christ told them in the parable that what will the owner do? هيعمل إيه? He will come and does what? Destroy those vine dressers and take the vineyard and give it to other people who will attend to it. I don't want you to take this to the extreme, but I want you to know that every action has consequence. Everything we do have consequences. We decide to live as Christians, we see reflection of that in our life. We decide to live a very easy life and very non-disciplined life, do whatever we want, no discipline, and then we will pay the price for that too. Everything we do has its own consequence, if it is good or it is bad. In this parable, these vine dressers, they allowed themselves to go far to the point that they killed the son of the owner. I don't want to use the word punishment, but the consequences of their own actions was to be destroyed and removed from their position. We don't do that. thank God. We believe in the Son, and we allow Him to take over our hearts. The point that I'm trying to bring today is how much we allow Christ to reign over our hearts. If we allow Him more, then we will see His hand more in our life. If we allow Him just a little bit of our lives, then most likely we'll see very little bit of our life. The blessing that He is willing to bring to our lives is limitless, depending on how much we allow Him to work with us. In the end of this year, or the Coptic year, take some time to evaluate it. And instead of going back to December or January, go back all the way to last September, right? Or September, because we're at the beginning of this month. Take this, the whole month reading is based on how can we reevaluate our life. If we can only evaluate this year, then most likely we also can evaluate life in general. Where we are, where we want to be, how do we want to grow in our relationship with Him. And remember, if the seed of faith is not buried in the ground, is not faced with difficult time, it does not sprout. Remember that. The more difficulties you face, the more you have trust in Him. The more difficult you face, the more trust you should have in Him, because then your faith will sprout. We thank God for everything that He gave us, and we ask Him to bless our new year to come and to forgive us our sins. To Him is glory forever and ever. Amen.